Are you looking for a place to meet like-minded people? Perhaps you're a light worker looking for a safe place to share your thoughts and services. We've got a place for you, IntuiTalks.com. Join for free, post updates, blogs, create and join groups via website or radio or class package. The possibilities are endless. Join the all-spiritual, all-under-one-roof network, www.IntuiTalks.com.
Well, welcome everybody to a Psychic Affair. I hope you can hear me because I can hear me really loud. I'll just check that I'm plugged in. Can you hear me? Not too sure. I've just got this echoey sound. Having said that, I'm in a different house. I'm babysitting a dog. Fantastic. I'm house sitting and looking after a beautiful old dog, Carnes, my friend's pup. He's pretty old, and I made him go for a walk today, and I walked around the garden, and he was like, every few minutes he wanted to just stop, and I'm like, come on. So I'm going to spend a couple of days trying to get his fitness levels up a little bit. Welcome, Jackie. If you want to race off and get yourself a crystal for a reading later, I can get you to upload it at the end of the show, or as we move towards the end of the show. Now, it's not just about the readings. We're going to start off today with looking at a few crystals and what you can do with them. Now, these are very unusual crystals, so you may not be able to find them, or if you can, I was looking at one earlier that was $700 for a very small piece. And so it's not always viable to have these crystals in your home, but you can connect to them. I am creating a crystal card, and most of these are going to be featured anyway, but you can connect to them by looking at the crystal. You can go and Google the crystal if you didn't like the one here or wanted to think about it afterwards, by typing in the name, and by looking at it, knowing the name, thinking about it, and acknowledging that all of these crystals are in the earth. So when you're making an earth connection, you can directly enhance your intake, if you like, or uptake of the energies associated with each particular crystal. So we're going to start off with this beautiful piece. Have a look at that. That's natural development. It's the androdite, in fact, and it's a spiritual stone, really, and it denotes higher thinking, self-empowerment. It's also a stone of strength and safety. Now, safety isn't necessarily the word protection, so I want you to really think about that. Safety is about feeling safe, is about knowing when you're safe, but safety is more about a physical safety as well, as opposed to I'm protecting myself. With its platonic solid, I don't know if you're all aware of the platonic solids, the 5 platonic solids, which are pretty much what make up our universal basic composite, I suppose. So this is the structure of everything that's made, if you like. It brings with it what you call earth atoms, and it's quite an interesting thing because, of course, when Plato first identified the platonic solids, there was a belief that there were 5 atoms. So the thing that's powerful for me, because you're talking 430 BC, is they were aware that there were atoms. So there's always an understanding and a knowledge of what is intrinsic. In other words, we're made of this stuff, and therefore it's easily imagined, it's easily taken on board and understood. But he identified fire atoms that went with the tetrahedron. So if you want to take this on board, earth atoms with the cube, which is what we've got here, air atoms with the octahedron, water atoms with the icosahedron, and the cosmos atoms with the dodecahedron, which of course is the most complex shape. In Plato's time, because they believed there were only 5 different atoms, they were all associated with the 5 elements, which we've just been through. But today we actually know there are more than 109 different types of atoms, and I think within the last few years they've identified up to 115. So another 4, if you like. Hiya, boo-boo. Again, I'd like to say if you want to have a reading of a crystal, go hunt it down on Google, download the picture, and I can hand over the controls later so that you can upload your crystal for me to read it. When enough atoms combine together, we begin to get matter, and that's really the key understanding here. We begin to get matter that we can see, and this is sort of, for example, if you imagine a full stop, so I'm going to put one in there, a full stop, there's a, or not, hang on, let me go back. I wasn't plugged into the right spot. Here's a full stop, enter it in, okay, that full stop, okay, are you ready? Has somewhere in the region of a room or is made from about 10 million atoms. Whoa, 10 million, in the phosphor of your computer screen. So we're not talking maybe here. That's just to get the light, the image, to create it, to manifest it. 10 million atoms are in that single little full stop there. I love that stuff. I just think, wow, look at that, 10 million. And we're so dismissive of something that small. So imagine when we get to those areas before we can see it, before it becomes. So back to the androdite anyway. This information allows you to build on something you already have. That's what the androdite can do for you if you want to draw on its energy. If you have something in play already, if you have something that you've structured, but you want to build upon that, and you can see its construct right there in the image there, then you can acknowledge that while you are constructing it, the natural process of construction, and from an atomic point of view, you lose control of how it develops. So like in this picture, you can see the different sizes of the cubes, you can see the different directions that they point in, the different levels of color within each one. They are still all cubes, but of course you've lost control of the exacting nature. So to use androdite, you need to allow for the construct to take its own form based on what its atomic structure is. Does that make sense? I hope so. I didn't want to get too far out of the way there, but it's a powerful crystal and a wonderful one to use for the very fact if you've created a business, if you're already in a relationship, if you've got a job, and you're looking to create beyond that, if you're looking to take something beyond what you already have, then this is the stone for you. It is about building upon what you already have, and I really like it for that. Then we go through the next crystal that I'm bringing up for you to have a look at is the azurite. Azurite traditionally is a stone encouraging insight, and we all know that, and anywhere you see it, you'll see that word insight plugged in there. But often I see people mistaking that for the word intuition. They're not quite the same thing, although they are close. One leads to the other. That is to say, insight into your intuition is more important than if you've got insight, whether you need intuition. Does that make sense? No, I think I confused myself. Hiya, Jennifer. It's quite an interesting thing. So if you think about insight, the word insight is defined as an understanding of the true nature of something or someone. So that's what insight is, understanding the true nature, understanding the makeup of it, what's real about it. Intuition is a sensation. It's a feeling. It's a feeling for something unseen, which could be going forward in time or around you in the present. So thank you. It's getting there. It's one of those interesting areas. Now, you can have intuition without insight. For example, if you have a vision, you can, and we've all done this actually, or we have a dream, whatever it is, or hear something, right, clairaudiently, get a feeling. You might go, I'm having this weird feeling. I think something's going to go wrong. So you've got the intuition, but you haven't got the insight to understand what's underneath that, what's causing that, what's the meaning of that. Once you get the meaning of it, that's when you have insight. I hope that all is clear as mud for you. That's the difference. So basically intuiting something doesn't necessarily bring understanding. So it's that really comprehension, I guess, is the best word around the azurite. Now, this is a particularly beautiful azurite because it waltzes off in all these different directions. So it can lead to synchronicity by understanding what's going on, where it's going on, where you should be, where you shouldn't be. As such, it's an amazing crystal. I've always had a fondness for azurite. It was a favorite of the Egyptians. It was used a lot in makeup. It's just a really, really beautiful thing. Along with lapis lazuli, by the way, it was not the only blue that they used, but the intensity of color in azurite is phenomenal. When we want to look at the word insight also, we want to enhance it. I dislike usually that it's always, because of the word insight, it's associated with the third eye. In actual fact, you may want insight from other parts of your body. You may want to understand what the intention of somebody is. You may want to understand why they're saying what they're saying. Those kind of things are insight. To be insightful is to have wisdom born of knowing the true nature of something. So I hope that sort of makes sense to you all. Clear as mud. Well, that's a special special ability I've got, how to confuse people. This is particularly nice. This one's called boleite. That could go horribly wrong, couldn't it? It's often found entwined, and that's what I want you to have a look at here, because this makes this very special. It's a really different kind of a crystal. First, look at the structure of that. It's phenomenal. But as we move along, what it does is it very often it does something called twinning. That's twinning that you're looking at there. And that's where, while it's a separate structure, if you put it under a strong enough X-ray microscope type machine, you can actually see that there's a point where you can't tell the difference for where one starts and the other one finishes. They share a part of themselves with each other. But if you wanted to break it off or chip it off, one might dominate. And so it's quite an interesting thing. I'll just turn that off. I know exactly what to do about that. Hang on 2 seconds. Off she goes. Boom. See if that helps. It may do. If it does, life's good. If it doesn't, there's nothing I can do. I'm actually on a landline today. I'm in a house. I'm on a proper connection, so we're as good as it gets. The interesting thing here too is this. Oh, thank you, Gigi. The interesting thing here too, if we have a look, I'll move it up. You can see what they call a pseudo-octahedron. Now, this is very common, and this is because of the twinning. And the reason I'm explaining all of this will become very clear in a minute. So because of the twinning happening in a particular way, it can create a look of an octahedron, but it's not real. It's actually the cube, and those cubes are sharing some space. They're twinned. So what makes this amazing is it's a brilliant stone for bonding. It's a brilliant stone for relationships. It's a brilliant stone for using if you want to, say, meet a soulmate, whether it's a friend, a lover, where you want to bond strongly with a person that you may be having difficulties with, a family member. It's a bonding stone. And the key here is the word bonding. Where you bond comes from something in you. So, for example, when you meet somebody and you just get on, very often it's a communicative thing. You know, like you're on the same wavelength, we call that. So that's an area of bonding for anybody. With somebody you're having difficulty with that, this can become an amazing stone to help you move past that, to find the common ground, the bonding area. There'll always be one if you look for it. If you look for the differences, that's all you'll see. So boleite, perfect for that. Because you've also got the fake or pseudo-octahedron there, it can be misleading. So it's one of those, what I call an advanced stone. It's one of those stones that you need to allow yourself to let it be what it wants to be. That is to say, if you want to go and say to somebody, say you've met a bloke, this is a chick thing, or a girl if you're a guy. So you've met another person and you kind of fancy them and you think, I'll use boleite to find our common ground, and I want it to be this, I want it to be sexual, or I want it to be, we want to live in the same place. Suddenly you're in trouble because you can't control what area you will bond with. If you're going to look for that bonding area, it could be creativity. It could be a shared vision for some people. It could be a goal orientation. It could be something that you really want. And if you can't find a common bond that's strong enough, it ain't there. So you need to allow yourself to move into what is right and proper. The twinning itself, so I'll explain this nice and clear, occurs when two separate crystals share some of the same crystal lattice. So that means right on the basic structure, they are the same. Yet it's used in two different ways by each crystal in two different directions, and I think that's a phenomenal thing. The result being the intergrowth of two separate crystals in a variety of specific configurations. So a twin boundary or composition surface separates the two, but you can't get away from those bonded areas. It's often associated again with the third eye, but again, there are hidden aspects of that in the stone itself. So I see it more of an any chakra kind of a stone. And the bonding can take place again through creativity, vision, communication, gut instinct, the heart, intention, as well as spiritual communion. So I really do like the stone a whole lot and think it has a lot of potential. And again, like the crystals that I tend to show you, and I can only ever show a few in any one show, they are not the norm. You know, you don't see these around. They're not the popularist most available stones that everybody knows about. So it's really nice to take these unique energies. Now, this is all in the ground, and you allow yourself to draw that up. So if you were going to commune, or if you were going to bond with a crystal or start drawing on its energy, for something like this, I'd be looking at the picture. I'd be thinking the name, boleite. Okay, I'd be looking at that, and I'd be looking at the one that matters. You know, I'd try and look for a whole configuration, not just the single broken off piece here. As you can see, it is broken off a larger piece. Because it's a solid piece, that's worth a lot of money. So I'd be looking at that, and I would just, once I've looked at that for a few minutes, I would just close my eyes a little bit, and I would send my heart energy to connect with the boleite. And as you allow your heart energy to connect with the crystal, whichever crystal you're looking at, allow it to run down your body, through your legs and out the soles of your feet. So you're pushing that down into the earth, seeking it there, the real stuff, the real McCoy, all the boleite that's in the earth. You will get there. It isn't hard. And so then you allow yourself to then draw on the boleite itself. Draw it up, and allow yourself to make these bonds. The interesting thing is you can form some very good friendships, almost treat it like networking, because we're talking soulmates. It doesn't mean it's all about romance and love. We're talking about somebody who's traveling the same way you are for a while, who you may not have met yet, or who can either assist you or be assisted by you, or that the coming together is like a muse and the artist, right? The coming together makes both of you better in some way, or brings something to both of you. Really fantastic stuff, really nice energy. I like the way that rolls quite significantly. Oops, we'll pop that back down. Get back. There we go. This is, now I don't know that I'll say this correctly, as usual. I'm a bit challenged in this area. This is despujoisite. It's a South African word. It's a South African stone. It's a great stone to resolve conflict. And you just have to look at that color and look at that transparency. It's like jelly to look at, which is always going to make it good for me. I'm a jelly lover. This can resolve conflict through perspective, okay? Resolving conflict through perspective. It offers the ability to develop an understanding of others, another, or a situation by quite literally seeing it with new eyes, or seeing them with new eyes, seeing the situation with new eyes. And that's the new perspective, or the change in perspective. Lime green is always about learning. It resonates with learning. Whenever I see it in a person's aura, I know that they're in a learning phase, or they're going to take on some level of learning. With learning, you get ultimately, in the end, comprehension and understanding. You get enlightenment. Conflict, using this can be quite an interesting idea, because where conflict recycles, the user can find themselves on a journey of self-discovery. In other words, if you've got a conflict with a number of different people, say, for example, you need to know what the common denominator is. Now, if you're having conflict with half a dozen different people, or over a period of a few years, you've fallen into conflict with a number of different people, you are the common denominator. That's the end game, whether you want to look at that or not. So this crystal will take you on a journey of self-discovery to see what it is that you are doing, but you become aware of it as you do it. So say, for example, you had that in your hand, or you had held the energy of it, and you are saying genuinely, I want to know what's going on. I want to resolve this conflicted existence. Then the very next time you did what caused the conflict, if you're the cause of it, you will see that in yourself. You'll go, oh my gosh, that's what I did. I call them the cringe moments. That's what I'm doing. And oh yes, I did it here. And that's when you get an opportunity to go, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. And you can change the behavior and remove the conflict from your life. All recycled conflict has a common factor. So if you go to a common denominator, if you go to a recycled conflict with one person and you don't necessarily have it with anybody else, then you'll be able to see, firstly, it's not always your fault. Sometimes we get into a habit of responding to somebody badly, but they are instigating, or they're goading. Their behavior may be dismissive. They may be critical of you. They may always have a superior attitude that makes you feel less than you need to feel. And I see that quite a bit around, especially on Facebook and especially on certain radio shows, where any question or any opinion is met with derision. And the person that's receiving that is almost like the beaten woman. They come back for it again and again and again. So you can end that conflict by using this kind of a stone. You can see, for example, that the conflict's caused by the fact that you place yourself in that position, even if you're not causing the situation. All right? So it's that understanding. You can see the other person for what they're doing. Oh, that's what they're doing. Do I need that in my life is the question that becomes, the answer, if you like. It will reveal the behaviors that need to be changed, whether that's engaging with that person or people, whether it is being a particular way, responding in a particular way, instigating a particular event. If the conflict is with a single person, and in particular if it's in a single situation, say you've been married for a while and you have that same argument again and again and again, you'll be able to see what the root cause of that is. Very often those surface arguments are indicative of something else that's been done, a hurt that has not been resolved. You need to know what it is, and then you can effect a solution. So it's a wonderful, wonderful way to go about that, I think, anyway. So I really love this. Despojoasite or similar. But it's a beautiful, beautiful stone to look at, and I would strongly advise anybody that has conflict in their lives to use it. Now, I've been in love with rutile or rutilated quartz forever. Any rutilated stone, I'm the rutile queen. It sounds bad the way I say that, but rutile quartz offers clarity into your own inner desires. So the rutiles are very direct, very straightforward, and while we may have complexities within there, sometimes we just get a little bit lost as to what reflects that inner desire. Other people advise us sometimes, and while it might sound off, we think, oh, maybe that's right. Maybe I should be doing that, or maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe it's just too hard. Or we start to give up, we lose our confidence. There's a whole pile of things. Losing confidence can be a big deal. The way to express your inner desires, or more effectively express them, is really built on the understanding of what they are to start with, so that you don't have to have a lot of misfires before you either give up or find after a while the very thing you're trying to put out there. It's particularly helpful if you tend to get tongue-tied when having difficult conversations with others, and that brings us back to that despojoasite, right? Oh, I think I just rolled that off. Despojoasite. Look at me go. When you put these two stones together, and don't forget you can do that, you get this combination. You get a conflict resolution stone along with a stone that allows you to express yourself more clearly, your true self, not just whatever placates the other person, pleases the other person, or keeps you, from out of harm's way. It's a fascinating area. There's, sometimes there are other people who stonewall you. They take advantage. They think faster, they talk faster, or they have more confidence, or they just want to slow you down or talk you down. They stonewall you because there are a certain amount of people who try to baffle you with BS, right? They try to they don't know as much as you do maybe, and so they just try to outwit you with their verbals, even if they're clearly wrong, even if everybody can see that they're wrong, they're still trying that, and leaves you on the back foot, or leaves you without the tools to effectively say what you wanted to do. Well, the rutile quartz comes in for that, because you will see exactly what they're doing. You will see exactly why they are doing it. Usually, to these sort of conversations come in when somebody else has done something wrong, and you may want to pull them up for that, or talk to them about that. But these are fairly common. You can go and find rutile or rutilated quartzes pretty much anywhere. They're a little bit dearer than a normal quartz, but hey, not a problem. They're not way out there. They're not in the $70 to $100 for a little wee fingernail stone range, but you would probably, for a nice one, pay, I don't know, $30 to $50 in the States, I guess, because it's a little bit dearer over there than here. For no good reason. Our dollar's low. Yours is high compared to ours. So anyway, so it's one of those things that allows you to be very clear about what it is, what your purpose is, what your desires are, what your intentions are, and you're clear about that, then it becomes easier to express that without getting caught up on the surface stuff. Have you ever had that when you're trying to talk to somebody about something, especially on these shows sometimes, and you've got a fast-talking host or guest or whatever, and then you're trying to say what you want to say, and next thing the whole thing's about something different, or you're having that conversation with a special person, and you end up talking completely about something that wasn't what your intention was. So this is the sort of thing we're talking about. This will help you stay centered. It's a perfect stone for staying centered on any intention. And if you are needing to tell somebody what you need or don't want, you will not be swayed, and will be able to remain clear about the point of the conversation. That is to say, you can see them wandering off with it, and then you know to wait, and then when they're finished speaking that last sentence, you say, yes, but that's getting off track, bang, and you'll be able to bring it back on track. So brilliant for that sort of thing. Brilliant if you're a professional, if you're an energy therapist like myself, if you're working with people who are often in avoidance mode, it helps you to bring them back. I'm so persistent at that, it's tiresome, I know, for others. And bring it back. We're not going over there. It's also if you add to that, this is a wonderful combination. The rutile and the quartz allows you to see where you get sidetracked yourself. So forgetting conversations and other people. Now, if you've got a goal for your life, if there's something you're trying to create for your life, then holding on and using the stone can help you maintain the straight and narrow, so you're not drawn away from that by something that looks like it might be okay, but actually isn't what you're really wanting. And it's easy to get stuck like that, not because we have a lack of intention and focus, but because sometimes we genuinely aren't quite clear on the best way to get to where we're going. So we head down a few side roads first because they look like they might go where we're going, and then we have to pull ourselves out of it. In fact, the sign of success is not going down those side roads. It's how quickly you recognize them and get yourself back on track. If we don't diversify, if we don't go up or down hills, if we don't have these little wee things going on, then it will leave us in a position of having a really boring life, I think. It's nice to have something, but we do still need to maintain where we are going. If you find others misunderstand you or don't reveal important information or parts of yourself, allowing you to deepen relationships, having intimacy, as in mental, emotional intimacy, this can help you do that too. You can find yourself being a little bit more transparent, but with the right purpose, with the right intention. You can allow yourself, for example, to be vulnerable, knowing that you can trust that person and be vulnerable with them at the right moment, in the right situation, for the right reason. So it's got a lot going for it. I really do like rutilated quartz, so I hope that helps you a little bit. Moving on to the readings, we have Christy, who I feel like a radio host who's racing through her material. That's so funny. I listen to Kiwi. I listen to Kiwi radio, right? New Zealand radio, and I know you guys think I talk fast, but everybody here talks at the same speed I do. It's how it is, and you hear them sometimes, and it's just like this full-on banter, and it's going. But there's always two of them. There's always maybe three of them or four of them, or there's this conversation going backwards and forwards, and it's just like kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. It's full-on fast fire. And sometimes I mostly try to slow it down, but sometimes I can just feel myself getting back into the New Zealand groove of speaking at the speed we all speak at. And I do try, honestly, to slow that down enough so that it's not an issue for anybody. I know most of you that are used to me is good, but then there's a few that come in and they go, hey, what did she say? Christy, who? I love this. Now, do you know if it's howlite? At all? It doesn't really matter for this. The fact that you've chosen a set stone suggests to me also that it's turquoise, you want the structure, you want there to be the beauty within something, but you want all of the lines defined. You want the clarity of knowing what the boundaries are, where are the lines drawn, where can I go, where can't I go. You like to have that kind of structure around you. You like people to be straight with you. You don't want to be second-guessing people, and you may find that you don't feel that you're very good at second-guessing or trying to work out somebody else's intention. You might just throw up your hands and say, oh, I don't get you, whatever. And so that's kind of an interesting thing. The beautiful colours that we've got here, as they are, whether it was, because I thought it might be howlite when I first looked at it, but being turquoise, that same coloration is always about resonating with the past, moving back into the past and understanding the past or learning from the past. So you may find that your mind wanders a little bit backwards at the moment. Having said that, there's got to be this boundary for you. It's got to have a purpose or a reason. You don't want to be just wallowing. You don't want to just be going back and, rehashing old stuff. You need to know that there's a purpose in that and that there's something for you coming out of that. Because we have a silver setting, you might be a little bit absent-minded over the next wee while, or at present. You may get a little scatterbrained here and there, and you may start forgetting things. And that's like the mad scientist, like weird ideas might pop into your mind, or you might just be living in a little bit of fantasy land as you develop castles in the sky. That's a nice energy. I think I love the way that feels. It lends itself really well to writing, authorship, being creative and moving into a new cycle or a new circle of stuff, if you like. Very, very pretty. Now, because you've got a delineation, so if I show you here, see this line here? It's a very clear line, and up the top here, this here, if you look at that, is almost the yin of the yin and yang. So it's very feminine energy. So you may find yourself feeling very sensitive. You may be quietly sort of struggling on the inside when other people are casually off the cuff throwing things and words and communications out at you, if you know what I mean. They're not deliberately out to do you any harm or otherwise, but you may be more sensitive than usual, or this may be regular energy for you, I'm not too sure. The little bit at the very top there, there's a very definite displacement of your mind energy, your higher thought processes, and they can wander off significantly. And because we have this rock down to the right here, or not rock, but the section or segment down to the right here, it's almost like a teardrop moving on an angle through there, but it's also like bedrock. So it's sort of like this combination of sensitive feminine energy but wanting to be grounded. So you may find yourself hauling yourself in regularly, trying to get yourself down to ground, down to earth, or doing things even meditations or walking around in bare feet, trying to keep yourself grounded and keep yourself on point. This is a period of time where you may find a struggle to get things finished that you start, or you may find a struggle to start something that you want to start because you'll be all gung-ho in your mind, and then when it comes time to actually do something or put it into effect, you might find yourself running out of steam. So quite an interesting energy for you. There is a little rose. I think that's a rose there. And of course, when we see rose, we're always going to be looking for that word guidance, looking for guidance, looking to guide others, looking for that wonderful sensation. I want to see what I want to see. I want to enjoy things. I don't have to have my life filled with reality. So it's quite a lovely energy. I'd love to go and get horribly stoned with you, It would be a great conversation, I can tell you that. Now, Lynn's can't be here, of course. She's at like 3 a.m. in the morning right now. So I said to her to send me her stone and I would read it anyway. You're very welcome, Christy. I would read it for her and she's going to check it out. So, Lynn's, we've got a rose quartz here, and I like the fact that it's got this pyramidal shape at the top here. It's that's not that common for a rose quartz to see, and it doesn't look like it's been cut. And it's almost like an open doorway into that when I'm looking at it here. So I would suggest at the moment that you've got a very direct idea of where you want to go in the higher energy zone, what it is that you're looking for. Because it's rose quartz, you're not going to be terribly set on how you get there. You'll be open to suggestions and ideas, anything new that will put you up that top of that pinnacle, get you where you want to be, because it happens to be that triangle. So if you see the triangle here, this is the pyramidal bit. You see that triangle there? It just resonates with me with the Merkaba star, that kind of thing, which takes you to that next level, living in the cosmos, if you like, emotionally, mentally, communicating with the cosmos, and getting your information from maybe a slightly different place to the way you've traditionally got information for readings or for yourself or whichever. But it is a gateway energy, and I find that quite interesting. So you may feel like you're standing on a precipice, if you like, just ready to step through the next door or the next gateway, and it's a delicious feeling. So you're going to spend quite a bit of time probably feeling all trissy-la-la and feeling like life is wonderful, those kind of feelings in amongst anything else that's going on in your life. There'll be just this, this very soft, very reception-oriented energy, which is really quite nice. I keep getting drawn to the swirl here. I can't help but look at that swirl. So that suggests too that there's a lot going on out here. I want to put it out here, and when it's going on and when it's moving, there's this whole, I suppose, energy of, it's a swirl of information, it's a swirl of things going on, it's a swirl of stuff coming at you, and you may have to practice discerning it, pulling the bits out of it that you need in the moment that you need it. So I think that's really nice as well. Because we've got a very rough cut bottom, it's almost like, you know, when you take something that's rough cut, a jewel that's in the rough, and you allow it to see it forming. So it's like a half-formed reality, this, and I like that as well. So it's about developing and taking what is from that rough jewel, I suppose, that rough cut, and then structuring it, finding a way to use it the most effectively. And of course, to do that, you need to have a goal. There is a pinnacle. There needs to be, I want to do this, or I want to be that, or a combination of all of those things. So I really like that for you. It'd be interesting to see how you go with that. We've got Darlene's. We've got Darlene Stone. Now, these crystals are so fine and so complex. Now, we have got the blue-grey through there. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm assuming that's your hand, Darlene. I'm not too sure. Just assume it's your hand. But with the, yup, it is. With this, I'll just make that a little bit bigger so I can see this one a bit easier. With this one here, we've got this clear line right through here. You can see that, like, beyond belief clear. Well, this here is like a bag. It's not, I know I'm not calling you a bag, okay? I'm not calling you an old bag or a young bag or any kind of bag. But this is like a bag. And it's as if you're being the receptacle. And that's why we've got all of these very fine, shimmery silica quartz, right? And it's almost like... you know you love me. And so that's what it's like, but it's like a collection point. So it's taking things in, taking things on, not just in, taking things in, taking things on, sucking it up. You know, all of those energies where you feel like I can't say what I want to say, or I have to play the game, but it's all still going in there to fill this area, to fill this bag. Because we've got brown, it's about, I don't know what practically to do with this stuff, with all of these people or whatever. There's a certain amount of, not you, but disingenuous energy. And so you'd be seeing it and recognizing it. And so here we go. Up here, this is all you're going to show them. Okay? This is all you're going to show them. And all in here, they don't get to see. And that's where you hold it all, and you may take it away and spend time by yourself, just trying to get it out of your body, to try and bring yourself back to center, to allow yourself to just relax and try and go, you know, they're who they are. I can't let that affect me, that kind of energy, which is kind of interesting. Now, the other side with the bag, of course, and because it's got the blue-grey tones, is that when you're taking stuff, and it's not all bad stuff, some of it's really good stuff, so you're in an accumulation mode. You do maybe need to watch what you eat and your weight when we're doing accumulating energy stuff, because it's stuff coming in, and at this stage, not as much going out as is coming in. So it's an overall energy, and it can lead to a little bit of self-indulgence, I suppose. That isn't satisfying, by the way. So the rest of it, though, as we've got that energy, is taking stuff in so that you can diversify it, so that you can decompress it later. I'm not sure where I was talking about compressed information and energy. Oh, yes, that's right. I knew I'd get into trouble sooner or later. I just didn't think it would be so accidental. I usually get into trouble when I'm, you know, quite deliberate. The wonderful thing about this is there's a point of decompression. Now, decompression is when we've got information comes in. And for myself, when I started my journey, I can honestly say it was a good year to 18 months that more was coming in than I could outflow. So it sort of like kind of rattled my cage quite often and quite a lot, because I didn't really understand the information, the energy. I can remember a time I was driving into town, and I lived out at Port Waikato, and getting into town was over 40 Ks, right, 46 kilometres. And I was just leaving the port, and I just kept getting this overwhelming energy in my ear, which usually meant somebody dead or a guide or somebody wanted to talk to me that's not quite on the planet today. And it was frustrating me, and I got to the edge of the little township, and I was just like, what the hell do you want? And pulled over and stopped, and I nearly cried, because I'd been getting so much of this kind of stuff that I just didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what to do with it. And I was so wound up, and I turned over to my left, or I looked over to my left to the passenger seat with frustration while I was stopped on the side of the road. and then realised I didn't have my purse, which meant I would have driven in 40-odd Ks, got to town, and I wouldn't have had any money for gas. I wouldn't have been able to do my shopping, and then I would have had to have driven all the way home and then try and get back into town to get fuel because there was no fuel out where I lived. So it was one of those things that there wasn't nobody so much giving me information as they just wanted me to pay attention. And I just didn't understand the difference between getting information, paying attention, just stuff. And so that's what I felt like then actually was like this receptacle where you're just taking stuff in and in and in and in and in. Now, some of it was other people, some of it was because you're picking up subtle energies that people don't intend for you to recognize and see. So it's that ability or building of the ability to see more and more and more or receive more and more and more without necessarily being fully clear of what goes on with that. And so up here is what everybody gets to see. We'll talk about this little shaft in a minute. That probably I would call a scorpion shaft. And this bit up here, people sort of know this much of you and that much you try to keep to yourself, or there's only certain people who can know that or know how you're feeling or know where you're taking that. The interesting thing of that is, of course, this is all sparkly, so you may not feel sparkly when other people see you as sparkly, that kind of thing. And I know that's the online world we live in, but at the same time, I think that's a normal state for you, that there are people who know you here, there are people that know you there, and then there are people who know you in your entirety, but then they might know this bit of you over here. It's kind of compartmentalized, I guess. Now, this part here is shafting and driving, so that's the bit of you that knows exactly where you want to go, exactly what you want to do, and you may not reveal that to others. You may just keep that to yourself until you're certain that nobody can get in your way, or until you're certain that it's too late for them to get in your way, whatever way that might go. It's not always obvious to others what your agenda is or what your direction is or what it is you're trying to achieve. So I think that's a pretty interesting dynamic as well. Now, is there anybody else in here that wants to put a photo up? If you do, let me know. I'll give you the controls and you can upload a photo. If you have one that I can grab quickly, I can grab it and upload it, although it'd be quicker if you did it. Yes or no, because I'm at the end of those particular readings so far. We can move on to, while I'm waiting to see if anybody wants to have a go and front up with a crystal. When we're working with crystals, getting to know your crystal, I think, gives you the best results, the best information. And even while I'm developing these crystal cards that I'm doing, the understanding for me is that I need to sit with them and I need to understand exactly what the message, the imagery, all of those things around them will be, so that when somebody else holds that card, they get what they need out of that with the right amount of what's the word I'm looking for? Not generalization really, but the right amount of energetic direction, I guess. So it needs to be contained to what that crystal is. When you are getting to know a crystal, when you want to resonate with a crystal, good as gold, I will hand that over to you, Dolores. And I'll just go here and we will hand it to you. You've got the controls there, Miss Dolores. There's that getting to know a crystal is about first giving, which I described earlier. First giving, so you connect from your own heart energy, you connect into the crystal. And then what you're doing by doing that is you are allowing, and the next thing you know is you are opening to that energy, so you can more fully take that on board. That's beautiful. Now, agate is usually a little bit greener looking than this, and it's got almost a moss agate green. It's inside a quartz, is it? The agate. Yes, sorry. Okay. And that's the green bit up here, I would say. So I'll grab that back so I can point. Let me point up here, through here. It's almost a moss agate look, isn't it? And do you see my spirit guide in the crystal? Is that what you're asking? Yes. This down here, this face here, is that what we're looking at? Hang on. Yes. So yes, I see that face. Quite an interesting energy there. And I will put a little circle around it for everybody to have a wee sticky at, I suppose. Let me go to a nice bright yellow, and we've got him. Oops. Where am I? Free draw circle. There we go. There. How's that? Just in case you weren't sure, he's staring out there. I had you'll like this, a long time ago I was doing a meditation, and the meditation was actually to speak to some Pleiadian entities that had been communicating. And I was sitting there in this meditation, and I heard the voice talking to me above my head. And the next thing, I could feel myself inside this crystal, and I was holding a crystal in my hand, and I had done a connective sequence with this. And the next thing you know, my head was jammed up, like in the point of the crystal up here. My head was jammed up like this in the point of the crystal. I could even feel it, like the pressure in my head as I was pushed up inside. And the next thing you know, all of this information was coming down. But it was quite funny because all I could remember thinking was, oh, that'd be bloody well right. Got my head stuck in the inside of a crystal. So it's kind of amusing the way these things can go sometimes. But anyway, with the adduite and the fact that it grows almost like little wee tiny bubbles, isn't it? You know, is that a good way to describe it, Dolores? Little bubbles? Or it's like little florets inside the main crystal. And what I really like about that is that things develop and grow inside. And because it's in the top here, mainly, I'm not talking about your guide, and blue inside as well, is it? Okay. Because it grows sort of like, oh yeah, that's the best I've got, sort of like bubbles or florets inside the crystal. It's about, and it's at the head of the crystal for yourself, it's about the fact that everything's in your head is where I'm going with that. And it just grows and explodes and grows. So there's times when your head must be very, very busy at the moment, and that this crystal sort of represents that for you. But the knowledge that's in there, it sort of builds upon itself and upon itself and upon itself. You know, it just keeps on going. Because we've got a wide point, we've got a strong terminated point here with a very wide base. It suggests too that you've got a good solid structure, that you've got to where you are today by working hard in a variety of different ways and gaining understanding from that and putting yourself in a position where you just know more and more and more, and allow yourself to utilize that, to bring it all into your head so that it's almost sort of like just falling out of your head at that point, but then it develops itself. And that's where, I come back to that word decompression. And as we decompress information, it just sort of keeps on coming out. And it's something that could take you, without realizing it, you know, a matter of minutes to intake 10 years ago could take 5 to 10 years to output it all. If you think about the way that a computer or a zip file has compressed information in it, and it just looks tiny, you can send it off and it's only a few megabytes big. And then when you unzip it and bring it all out, it opens itself up like a flower. And once it does that, the petals shine, everything becomes visible inside of it to everybody else, not necessarily to yourself. So that's kind of an interesting thing too. And because I'm looking at that, there may be confidence issues now and again. You may have to remind yourself that you do know what you're talking about. I don't know if that makes sense for you, but that's what I've got there. There's that interesting feeling of feeling a little bit trapped within all of that information and trying to find the best way to share it and the right people to share it with. So it's a very interesting thing right there. I do love the face in there because it couldn't have been more obvious. I journeyed inside the crystal and met that spirit guide. Bloody brilliant. So you understand my head getting stuck then, which is pretty funny. Well, it's funny to me anyway. I get my head stuck in a crystal. It's just like, it's just typical me, you know, get your head stuck in a crystal, yay. But I think that's really fantastic, and it'd be really great to hear your experience. So I hope you tell us about that one day. Come on a call and tell us about how that came about, and if you want to, of course, and what came from that, what you got from that and what you gave to that would be absolutely fantastic to hear, by the way. And you can today if you want to. So that's what we've got with this one. And he has a story. I'll bet he has a story. Look at that face. Check out that face. That's got a story, all right. And there's an interesting quality too, because as you're looking, if everybody can see, obviously you can see where the where the face is inside, it also describes the depths of this crystal, right? The crystal has a lot of depth itself. So that is probably you too. You know, you would resonate to the idea of having a lot of depth. Depth is important to you. Other people having depth of understanding, knowledge, depth of personality, all of those wonderful things that allow a relationship to build or allow knowledge to build and grow. And there's a lot of storage in there. There's that whole quartz sense, you know, that whole understanding with quartz transmuting energy, holding energy and sustaining it, which is what it does with clocks. It keeps it on time. By the way, everybody, use your crystals for on time. It keeps you in time, on time, through time. It allows you not to sway out of time. Those kind of things. And divine timing is always going to be about being in time, on time, at the right time, synchronicity, wonderful things like that. Divine timing comes from you and comes out into the world. The world's never out of time. You're out of time with the world, basically, is how that works. So that's really beautiful. Is there anybody else that's got a crystal? If you have, jump on in now forever, or else we're going to run out of time for that. We've got this wonderful Earth full of more crystal line than we even know today. There's so much that I don't know if you can hear that phone ringing, but I know now why I don't have one. There's this horrible sound that won't go away. There you go, it's finished. There's this wonderful thing within the earth, and if you just look around you, if you just feel the earth, the next time you're outside and you just sit down or stand there, it doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter if you've got your shoes on. I know people say that, but if shoes made a difference, we'd all be there. Let me answer the phone, says Darlene. Allow yourself to feel, because the actual crystalline or crystals that we get out of the earth, and for the amount that aren't even applied to spirituality or applied to the energy, as you can see with the ones that I share, and I've got thousands literally of them that are never utilized in that way. The metals, base metals, when I do earth energy alignments with my students, it's always going to include base metals. It's got to, because they're elementals. And so we can narrow ourselves down. So while I advise using crystalline structures for specific purpose, I also advise that you allow yourself to resonate with the whole planet as a whole. All of these things are in it. So you want to be drawing that earth energy up, and we'll send that to everybody and show everybody that's going to listen to the show later. Just allow that to happen. And as you draw the earth energy up, as it moves up into your body, then you can allow yourself to center on a particular energy or frequency above the others, not excluding the others, to take a particular part of your life right now forward. It could be anything. You don't even have to know what it's called. What I do know is it's inside the earth. Okay. Hardy, ha. It's not my phone. So there. Yeah, actually it's not unlikely. But it's not my phone, it's my friend's phone, so I would never be answering it. But it's pretty funny, because I've got my mobile phone, and it's always very quiet, or it's on a little buzz. It's like this phone goes, it's like, I want to get the fire hose out and squirt something. The understanding of that earth energy is that you're made of it. And while you don't hold all of the componentry, remember those 115 atoms that we know today, you do hold a fair whack of it, and then you have the ability to utilize anything you haven't got. That's part of the earth. We don't need to hold all of it at all times, but if we can draw up something, your body naturally accepts that. Now, this can be for body healing as well. There is that understanding. The next crystal show that I do, I will ensure that I go directly for body healing and crystals to use. So I encourage anybody that listens to this I'll probably do that in a couple of weeks or 3 or 4 weeks, allowing, the crystal thing to move on by. Next week I'm going to be looking at body-centered, no I'm not. I don't even know why I said that. Next week I'm going to be looking at auras, and we're going to talk about auras. We're going to talk about chakras. If you want an aura reading or a chakra reading, come along to the show, ask for that, and you shall receive it. That will be what we are doing next week. We will talk about colors. Now, if anybody wants to get in touch with me privately way before the show in the next few days, then I will do an aura picture to put in the show. You will need to send me a photo and then we can do that. And I'll just hit the highlights there. It won't be a full reading, of course, but a bit of a flyby. In the meantime, though, I want everybody to have fun. I know I'm running You Want Me Again? Sure, because that was ages ago. How long ago, Darlene? Would that be over a year? It has to be, right? Or close to a year. It was a while ago. I found that picture. I couldn't find it that day on the show, and then I did find it. But it was ages ago, and you've done a lot of stuff since then. So, yeah, that'll be great. Send me a pic, and I'll pop you in there. Maybe you too, Supernatural Radio, Jennifer, Jackie, Dolores, Christy, Who Boo Boo, any of you or all of you. If you do, if I get all of you, I'll just do a little bit less of each, but quite happy to do it, and may target a chakra or any part that stands out for me anyway. So I hope today was a fun show. Do tune in for, look at my face, what am I doing? Voices of the Past. We are looking at the Tao this week, coming up Sunday, 10 p.m. There's a lot in the Tao. I don't know if I'll be able to compress that all into one show, but I'll do my best to have a go at it. And the final of the Voices of the Past is the following week, where I'm looking at the I Ching, otherwise called the I Ching or I Ching, depending on who you're listening to and who you're talking to. Wonderful time. Now, remember this week, please don't be a part of your own problem. You can PM me your photo on Facebook. You can send it to me on Dorothy at energy-therapies.co, or you can plug it through to me on IntuiTalks.com. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and have a great week. Ciao for now.